my name is, hello everyone, this is my first talk in English, but slow. My name is Alejandro. I am Golang developer in Civo, in the research team. My talk today is how to simplify the tooling that you need to manage infrastructure at scale. So, how we manage infrastructure today? Today, everyone using the same tools. Basically, we're using the Terraform, Crossplane, CLI, provided libraries created in Go, Python, or another library. You prefer? Node.js. I don't like it. It's a pleasure to me to introduce you OpenControl Plane. Dinesh made a presentation in the main stage, show a demo. This talk will go more deep into the OpenControl Plane. So basically, we build a new API, and we can call an OpenControl Plane or OpenCP. We added to that API new objects compatible with Kubernetes or kubectl. We created a single interface. The idea is the OpenControl Plane is create a single interface for all cloud. So basically, you don't need to write a file in Terraform for one provider, and if then you decide to move into another provider, you need to rewrite that file again. We think you only need one tool to manage everything, kubectl. I'm 100% everyone have that tool in their Mac or in their machine, 100%. And you don't need any additional tool. That's the beautiful behind OpenControl Plane. I will show you a small demo and how we're doing, and then we can go in more to the architectural and things.
I have a question.
Okay, so we have here two YAML files. I think we need to open your YAML file. Okay.
Yeah.
So we have two files, a cluster and namespace. I will cut namespace. We have a definition, a namespace. Normally, they use it to create a namespace in Kubernetes. Nothing different. What we do is we tie the namespace to a Civo network. You can compare the same with PVC in AWS or network in DigitalOcean. It will be the same. We keep it the namespace to make compatible with kubectl. In that way, you can pass -n or -a uppercase or capital letter, and you can list all your namespace. Like kubectl, get namespace. This is my namespace on my network inside Civo, returning in the same way that you do it with Kubernetes cluster. Let's say you want to create a new apply, not that one. Namespace. I create a new namespace called OpenCP. If I list it again, it should be there, hopefully. You can see it's already there. It's simple. I don't need to worry what happened behind and if it's compatible with Civo or not. It's a single YAML file. Suppose that you have the same interface for DigitalOcean, Linode, AWS, GCP. It will be the same file, and you only need to change context. I need in GCP, apply, it will work. I need in AWS, apply, and work. let's go further. Let's say I want all the Kubernetes cluster I have in my account, -A. I have a single cluster in the kubectl namespace with two pools, with public IP, stay active, and was created that day. I can remember the day. Let's do it and apply a new cluster. Create a new cluster in the new namespace. Say cluster. This is a YAML file with simple definition. API version, OpenCP, v1 alpha 1, of course, it's alpha. Kind Kubernetes cluster. The metadata, you pass cluster name, namespace, it will equal the network or VPC. The spec, you declare the pools. The pool contains the size, the ID for the pool, and the count. There are optional params that you can use it for other clouds like autoscaler true, minimum size, and maximum size. But in our case, we don't use it. So that param will be optional and depend on the provider, user or not. The version of Kubernetes we wanted, and the CNI plugin is a simple YAML file. Let's apply kubectl, apply cluster YAML file.
Excuse me, I have a question. Is OpenCP replacing Terraform or any other IPC? Or what is that we are trying to do?
The idea behind OpenCP, I don't want to say we want to replace Terraform or Crossplane or Pulumi. But yes, basically, you don't need to rewrite your configuration file to move from one provider to another.
Okay.
You don't need to say, for example, in the case of Terraform in Civo, you use Civo Kubernetes cluster as a resource. If you want to say the same with AWS, you need to say resource,
Yes.
AWS cluster, blah. See, you need to rewrite the whole file again.
With this, you don't have to do it.
With this, you don't need to do that because that YAML file will be worked in every provider. So maybe we call in version 122.11. Maybe in AWS is AWS 120.1. You only need to change this, the version, because it has to be compatible with the provider. But that's it. You keep the same structure. Let's list again. Let's say n kubectl. I will list all my cluster in the kubectl namespace. Oh, I put them right. We have a cluster grcc, but that's not in a space that we use it in the YAML file. So we want to see every cluster that we have, we pass A. So it's using kubectl, like you do it regularly in your daily work. So now we have two clusters, one in OpenCP namespace and other one in kubectl namespace. One is upgrading and the other one is active. It's upgrading because I deployed in the old version and our platform automatically will be upgraded to the last version. But we can go to the Civo webpage. We can refresh. We can see the OpenCP network here. We can go to Kubernetes. and we can have both clusters. It will be the same with using YAML file and kubectl, of course. Another feature, you can say, for example, get secret. This is cool. Basically, we store the kubeconfig inside the secret. That secret for now, I can tell that, right? Yeah. Okay. I don't know. That secret for now, no, the code is public, so you can see how we do it. Basically, that secret now is built at fly. So when you request a secret, we get the kubeconfig, and we build the secret object compatible with kubectl, and we return it. So that secret, we don't store that secret in any way or any place. So it's safe. Let's say I wanna give me the secret for that cluster. Oh, sorry, I put it in secure. It's the local development. Give me the secret for that cluster in that namespace. Oh, yeah.
Your namespace is wrong, right?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's open. OpenCP is the namespace? Oh, no, it's the same.
No, it's the same for some reason. So basically, he gave me the secret, and the type is opaque. The data, he only contained one data inside the secret, and was created 21 days ago. The creation date from the cluster. So if the cluster is 100 days, it will be 100 days. You can say, sorry, kubectl -o, return it, that secret, the YAML file of the secret is the way we use it to get the data from the secret. Basically, we return in a valid version of the data in YAML format with the data and the kubeconfig. You can decode it, and you have your cluster configuration. You put it, and you only need to change the context to manage infrastructure, to manage the cluster. That's it. And we go to the presentation again. Hope this work. Well, the open control plane architecture is in this way. The open control plane depends on 3 projects right now. It's OpenCP SPACE, who contain the API declaration and the protobuffer files to create the client and the server. The OpenCP shim use the protobuffer files to create the client, and the provider implementation, in our case, Civo Open Control Plane, use the same spec to create the server. So kubectl talk with the shim using REST. Shim talk with the implementation using gRCP, and the provider implementation talk with the cloud using REST, and return it in the same path. REST, gRCP, and we convert it back in the format for kubectl. The benefit for the end user is you only need to use one tool to rule them all. The Lord of the Ring. Think about that. A well-known interface. Everyone knows YAML. And if you don't know, you can learn it. It's easy. Use the well-known command. Everyone knows kubectl. Get cluster, describe, watch. I want to say the OpenShim is 50% compatible right now with kubectl. We want to keep it, grow up, and take it to 100% compatible with kubectl. So you can watch resource, you can The same that you do with Kubernetes, do it with Open Control Plane. Also, you can see it's possible to filter by namespace or VPC or the name that you use it in your provider. List in all namespace or a specific namespace. The benefit for the cloud provider will be they don't need to maintain multiple tools or libraries. And they can put features quickly to the end user, and the end user don't need to update any tool to the last version. I have an example. I don't sleep about that. Yesterday in the night, Dinesh told me, okay, we needed the way to get out the secrets from the kubeconfig using kubectl. After spending 3-4 hours, we see the kubectl is not thinking to return a kubeconfig. So we decide, okay, we're going with the secret. You take me like 1 hour to implement the secret, push it to production, and you see it. So I don't have to update any tool. I don't have to release a new version of the CLI because it's already there. And it's easy to adopt by the cloud native. It's simple. You don't need to worry about the compatibility between clouds. How to get involved? User create issue, return a feedback, pull request welcome in GitHub. There is a repo for the spec, repo for the shim. We have an example of the Civo Open Control Plane. You can use it as base to create more providers. And there is a repo for documentation. You can involve anyway, welcome any suggestion or anything. How to use it with Civo now. So this is already live in the 3 regions the Civo have, not the Phoenix one. Not yet, tonight. We will launch it tonight in the Phoenix region. In the documentation repo, you have an example of the kubeconfig that you needed, and you can play. Return the feedback, that will be awesome. This is an example of the kubeconfig. It's basically the same that you use every day to talk with the cluster. The cluster, server, name, a context, the user, and your token for Civo. The token will be the same for Civo, for an AWS, DigitalOcean, Linux, whatever. You only need to change the name and the context. That's it. Question? In that way. Yeah, I have problem with the English and thing, but so. Okay, I will try to respond to the question. If I can, forward. Yeah, sure.
Okay, thanks for the presentation. Short question. So every region has an OpenCP endpoint, and I can use with my with kubecut. I didn't get the authentication. So every region has one, and I can just use them in my server area for my kubeconfig to communicate. So the CRTs will be used to authenticate against this.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the thing. Every region has deployed the OpenCP shim with the provider implementation in the same container. So it's a pod with two containers, right? When you send the traffic to the region, you send them to that pod. That pod get the token and send them to the API. The API endpoint is the same for every region, so your token will be valid in every region. And then you have 3 kubeconfig in your kubeconfig folder. You only need to change context, like this, for example. I will show you. I have a I use this tool, this awesome, QB. If you don't use it, it's fine. You see, I have OpenCP Fran and OpenCP London. So I have 2 contexts, and you can change between contexts. It will be the same, go to the Civo webpage and go to the bottom and say region Frankfurt region, London region, New York.
Okay, the endpoint is from Civo. That's what I understood. It's not something I need to deploy in my own,
No.
getting a cluster. It's a
No.
public endpoint, and it just get
So
authenticated.
the idea is
okay.
get involved, all the cloud provider. In that way, you don't need to do anything. So we have right now opencp.london1.civo.com. Suppose that you have opencp.sanfrancisco1.digitalocean.com. That's it.
The idea that we're doing behind this is that every cluster would be an availability zone. So if you were going between Amazon availability zones, that would be its own cluster endpoint, so that you can switch between contexts. Then users would be, for example, if you had a staging and a production user with different RBAC privileges, you'd be able to set up your kubeconfig to be talking, say, into London with staging, and then you change context to talk to Frankfurt with production, and you get different credentials and the tokens that you're providing. At the moment, it's only token-based, kind of bearer tokens, but we'd be looking to contributions to do all of the other authentication methods. So there are like the JSONs or the OAuth plugins. So that's already supported inside kubectl, and we'd just be looking for support for the shim to support that and pass through to the cloud provider.
Do you think that you will get any pushback from adoption by other cloud providers because of this shimming above an API, but kind of pretending it's a cluster?
Good question. We think, I don't know. That depends, but forward.
It's something that we've got to do to get adoption across other vendors, right? So all of these tools that are out there definitely have this initial struggle to get out there, but it's something that we believe in, that it's going to benefit the community and the end user. So we're going to push it from a Civo point of view, because internally Alejandro's pointed out some of the benefits that this has to us. I see it replacing our CLI entirely, and that we just get rid of it. I'd love for this to have wider adoption and not just be our project. End goal, if I can get this given to the CNCF so that the specs are maintained by a committee across all cloud providers. Everyone's got their own interests and they have their own things. I've been talking to people today who have been saying that Ingress was meant to do this, but then there are annotations left, right, and center for all of the variations that every cloud provider has. I would love us to be in a place where we can agree that, wait, no, this is the spec for a load balancer, and there are optionals that are provided, and then you can move across through. But if we can define, and this is for us as a cloud industry to solve, to make your lives as an end user better. So it's something that we will be pushing forwards almost on your behalf and taking that fight on.
That respond to the question? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is a powerful tool. We have a joke in the research channel with David, the other guy in the research, and say, okay, we can create a coffee machine and put it implementation, talk with the team, and we can send to make a coffee using a YAML file. It's simple, because the implementation will be talking with the coffee machine, and you only need to say kubectl apply, make a coffee. That's it.
I think, Matt, on your other point as well about pushback from providers about the shim. The shim is there to provide a common interface for kubectl, and we're hoping that providers themselves would take on the responsibility for the interface between the shim and the endpoint. I would be pushing that people replace their API endpoint with something that is shim compatible. So then rather than you having a shim that goes through this proxy and then to an API endpoint, if cloud providers are willing to just make their cloud endpoints gRPC compatible, the shim would talk directly to that, or even better, if they make their current REST API endpoints compatible with this, then the shim and the translator effectively is no longer required. But that's a huge amount of work. That's not something that anyone's going to take on lightly. But you know, utopia, change the world, future thinking, that would be awesome.
Any other question?
Is OpenCP currently open source?
Yes.
Is open source
Open control plane.
and is under Apache 2 license. So you can use it.
Do you have any clients currently using OpenCP?
It's for everyone else. Do we have any clients using this? No, not today. It's been launched out to the public today. This is the first time it is being seen. You are welcome to use it and be one of the first clients. You need your API token, and that's it. But it shouldn't be any different than hitting our REST API, because it is just going via the REST API. Let me know how you get on.
So are you planning to reduce, for example, the maintenance of your Terraform provider, for example? Is this something to say, okay, first our shim get the latest new features, and then, yeah, we will push this also to the Terraform provider, or are they still equal every possibilities to interact with you?
We try to maintain both projects at the same time. So right now, I am the only one who coding for Chim and made all the review for Terraform provider, but I will try to find the time to, didn't say I don't sleep, but I will find the time to keep every feature at the same time in both. Yes. So we don't plan to launch something in Chim and say, okay, we have in this, but you need to wait 2 months to get it in the Terraform provider. So the idea is launch a service and have it in both service in every service that we have.
Which currently is CLI, API,
Crossplane.
Terraform, Crossplane, Pulumi, and now we'll just add one more as well.
Yeah, so it's basically a lot of service. That is why we think this will be nice, because we only need to push a feature to the shim, and you already have the tool. So you don't need to worry if you are right in the right version of the CLI, if you have the right version of the provider. You have kubectl. Everyone, I think when everyone install the machine for the first time, the first he do it is install kubectl. That's it. Well, that's it. Thank you.